In today's lesson, we will study about the two types of polymorphism, method overloading and method overriding, and whether Python supports them or not. In polymorphism technique, the signature of function is same, but number of arguments and parameters will always be different. The selection of function call will also be done on the base of number of arguments. The values of parameters must be equal to value of arguments. If we have passed two arguments, the argument in which two parameters will be passed, that definition will be used as computation. But Python doesn't support method overloading. Whenever any function will be called to use method overloading, and if that function would have been defined 2 or 3 times, then it will use the latest copy as computation. We have done a short example of this. I have written a function. First time I have passed 2 parameters and second time have passed 3 parameters. When I call that function, I pass 2 arguments. If method overloading was supported by Python, then always our first function was executed because the number of parameters matched number of arguments. The latest copy of that function is a, b and default parameter c, in which we have stored 10. When this function will be called, then the latest copy will be executed. If we run this, then it has given this output, which shows that the latest copy of that function is executed. In Python, there is a technique of using method overloading which is not method overloading, but we use one function and its definition differently every time. We will see this. We created a function with the name of add, passed 2 parameters in it. First is data type and second is number of arbitrary arguments. We have studied this before, that what are arbitrary arguments and how we pass them. For them we use special character of static. When we will call this function, we have called this function 2 times and both times number of parameters are different, and it will select its computation on number of parameters. When we call the function first time, we pass 3 arguments in that, first int, then 5 and 6. Then first time int will go to data type and number of arguments which are different. 5 and 6 will be received by args, number of arbitrary arguments. We applied a condition. If data type is equal to int, then answer would be, there is one variable which we have initialized as 0. If data type is string, then the value of answer will be an empty string. There will be a loop placed here which will iterate it on all arguments. Args, on the basis of this we are iterating it. How many arguments are received by it? When the first function will be called, then 5 and 6 will be received by args, whereas int will be received by data type. On the basis of these two conditions, it will check whether int is coming in data type or string. If int is coming, then it will execute this condition. If it is coming, then it will execute this condition. Means we are selecting the functions here, which function we want to be executed. Like other programming languages, provide this functionality in method overloading. But Python doesn't provide this, so in Python we placed a variable which will perform the selection of function. If variable is int, the answer equals to 0 and this string will be skipped. In that function we have a loop, in which the sum of those numbers will be received as a result, but if we have second 3 arguments in the same function, its first is a string and the remaining 2 are also string. In this case, when we will execute this, then our output will be, first it executed the first function 5 plus 6 is 11. Secondly, the 2 arguments it concatenated and showed as output. It is a short technique. You can't call it method overloading. But if we have to use that kind of thing in Python, then we will set a variable which will select the definition of a function and execute it. Here, int and str are those 2 flags. On the basis of these, we execute the function or which function should be executed. If I remove the first function here, then only second function will be executed.